Welcome, dear listeners. I'm Jonathan Carlin.
And I'm Benjamin Carlin.
And we invite you to join us through the Griffin door, your one-way ticket to the enchanting world of Harry Potter. So grab your wands and dust off your broomsticks and join us as we unlock the riddles inside Goblet of Fire, Chapter 29, The Dream.
Oh boy, howdy. We get to look at the eagle owl here that young Harold James is just riding over the countryside on.
I have to say, this chapter art, it's a little corny, I think.
It is a little corny. I would say it is topping the list of kind of corny chapter arts that we've had so far.
It's not the first task bad. It's not bad in that kind of way. It's just a little corny is all I could say about it.
It's a little like the way that Harry is sitting on the owl looks like he's riding like a merry-go-round.
A little bit.
And like not only that, like he's not that thrilled about it.
Yeah. And she's like, ooh, I'm on an owl.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's we could talk about that. But also before we do that, before we dive into the episode, Ben, why don't you tell all the listeners about our lovely Gumpster Fire pin?
Yeah, we got ourselves a little bit of a special offer going on over on the Patreon. For annual signups, we are going to be sending out starting on July 1st. If you are an annual member through July 31st, you will receive a Gumpster Fire pin in addition to your book page.
Yes.
And so we've of course got Gumpine over here, who is our own lovely snowy owl who delivers all of the owlry letters to us here on set. So in case you're unfamiliar with Gumpine, he's really kind of like a national treasure, I like to think.
I know, like this is so if you're already a patron, of course you already know who Gumpine is because he delivers the owls every week in the owlery.
That's right. Yes.
But if you don't, you can see him in every episode, just poking his head out right down there.
He's just a little guy.
If you're watching on YouTube, and you can see that the letters have started to spill over into the other parts of the set now.
they are a little bit of everywhere for sure.
Yes.
Which honestly is kind of amazing because Isabel here in office does such a great job of like doing hand calligraphy for every single letter. So they're all handwritten. They're all on this kind of like parchment paper. It's all super fun. But anyway, Gumpine does all that work for us. And as all pets, seem to eventually have a nickname, Gumpine's became Gumpster Fire. So we kind of have like a really great dumpster fire themed pin for Gumpine.
It's kind of a big one.
It is kind of a big one.
It's a really fun looking pin.
It's a great pin. Yeah. All of the information is available over at Patreon. It's just like a public post. So even if you're not a patron already and you want to go and like get more information, you can do so at patreon.com/thegryffindor. So if you want to check it out, links in all the obvious spots, or just type it into your browser bar as people do. Keyword search.
Get the exclusive Gumpine Gum pin.
That's hey! I can't believe we got this far without thinking of gum pin.
Gum pin.
I love it. All right. Anyway, so back to the chapter. The Dream.
The Dream. It's interesting that this chapter of all chapters gets the title The Dream because Harry has many dreams throughout the series, and this is apparently the Dream.
I know, and
even though it is very short.
It's very short. By comparison standards. But especially like chapter 2 of this book is Harry waking up from what he believes to be the dream, which is otherwise the events at Godric's Hollow. And not Godric's Hollow. I'm so sorry.
The Riddle House.
The Riddle House. Yes, thank you. Little Hangleton. Or Major Hangleton. It's because, like Little Hangleton, I think, is where the Gaunts live. And this is like Hangleton proper.
Hangleton proper.
Yeah.
Don't they have it? It's like Little Hangleton and like Upper Hangleton or something?
I think there is something
it
like
up?
that.
Yeah, it's something. Yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. But it just seems like that chapter 2, especially because it predates chapter 29, could have been the dream, but instead chapter 2 is the scar. But I guess that makes sense. But is this no? I was gonna say it's not even the first time Harry's scar hurts.
Well, it's the first time it is hurt without Voldemort being nearby.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the first time we're getting like that sort of like echolocation situation going on.
Right.
Okay. Where he's they're seeing into one another's minds.
Exactly. That's more what's happening in this one. Although even that being said, even in the dream, he's not seeing it from Voldemort's point of view. He's still seeing it as like a third person in the room.
Which is strange.
It is strange. It doesn't seem like that's how it should work. And I mean, it almost feels exclusively done so that you, the reader, are left in the dark about what's sitting in the chair.
Right. So that you kind of get like that, like because the chair kind of like slowly turns at the end and Harry sees like what's sitting in it.
Right.
This one is also kind of strange because Harry's going to be like on the owl going like into a scene. So this is, I don't know. Like we made a video that was talking a little bit about whether or not like Hogwarts is alive or like magic is almost like the Force, from like Star Wars, where like it's its own mystic entity that like is sort of like also involved in the decision making about like how the world achieves balance. And so part of our argument in the theory video that we made was that like somebody like Trelawney is like the perfect person to like send these telegrams through because she's otherwise kind of like completely harmless. It's like she's not somebody who's going to be able to like take this information and do anything with it. She doesn't even remember them. But like the fact that she like delivers the information to Dumbledore of all people.
I know. It feels like no coincidence that Dumbledore is the one, like of all people, Trelawney makes the prophecy to him.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically what I'm trying to say here is that like we know that Harry and Voldemort have that like soul connection because the piece of Voldemort literally lives inside of Harry. And so often we're going to be seeing like directly into Voldemort's mind. And that makes perfect sense through the Horcrux connection. This is almost like something else is giving him a glimpse into what's going on because the owl, I'm pretty sure, is going to fly to the scene.
Well, that's the clairvoyant vibrations of the room, of course.
Yes. It does happen in Trelawney's office. So or not office, in her classroom.
Her classroom.
So there's that. So we'll get more into it. Of course, it's the eagle owl, which you so astutely pointed out. A couple of chapters ago is the one that Harry is watching fly through the smoke rings of Hagrid's hut.
Yeah, I mean I'm guessing there, but it's like, why even bring attention to this owl?
I know. Eagle owls are brought up exclusively in association with Draco, who has an eagle owl, and this particular eagle owl, which really can't be connected in any way to the Malfoys, because like when Lucius is summoned to the graveyard, it's like that is his first realization that like Voldemort's back. So
exactly.
The Malfoys can't be involved. This can't be their owl that's like helping.
Right. I mean, like we had that theory earlier in the book that maybe the Malfoys are the ones who like technically own the Riddle House, but even if that's the case, like they clearly don't know that Voldemort is staying there.
Exactly.
Or is using the house.
Right.
So unless they just like have an owl there but even that seems like a stretch that I don't think so. I don't think they're connected.
The only other thing you could possibly pull on here would be like the outside chance that like eagle owls tend to be associated with like dark wizards.
Maybe.
Which we have no basis for whatsoever.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, I think it's a fun theory if Harry happened to see the owl arriving that Mr. Crouch escaped, because even as you're reading through that last chapter, it's sort of like, or even in this chapter, they're going to say like, he couldn't have disapparated. He seemed too weak to do that, which would mean that he couldn't have like apparated even close to the castle. He would have had to have like basically walked from wherever he lives all the way to Hogwarts.
Right.
Which, if, they take a train for like 8 hours, and who knows where he lives? I guess you could take the flu powder from anywhere in, the UK to London every morning to work at the ministry.
True.
But I've always assumed he kind of lived like kind of London Central. So if it takes him, and this would be like, if you're crazy and out of your mind, it might take you 12 weeks to walk the distance to Hogwarts.
Yeah, just think about any other, like long distance hike. Yeah, it's going to take a long time if you're like geared up and ready and doing it intentionally. And this is somebody who's actively trying to overcome an Imperious curse the whole time.
Yeah.
It's like, who knows how malnourished he is? Who knows how well he can care for himself or make this journey? But we know that it's been about that long because that chapter where Harry witnesses the owl arriving, which we presume is the one letting Barty Crouch Jr. know from Voldemort's camp that his father had escaped, that Senior had escaped their containment. And then that's the beginning of March, right?
Right.
When he's looking out.
And now we're at the end of May.
End of May, because we're a month out from the third task, which is June 24th.
Right.
So yes. So May 24th zip code is when the rest of this is happening. I know that we're jumping around on dates a lot just to like try to get the timeline in mind. But when
it's curious if he's been missing for 3 months.
It's a
long time.
This again goes into that sentiment that like it almost must be the case that Percy is not of his own wits. Or just so pompous and self-important that he's just sort of like, I'm doing the job.
What's crazy is both seem equally likely.
They really do. When you put it like that. Yeah.
All right. So anyway, let's jump into the chapter itself. We'll start with our lovely first sentence. It comes down to this, said Hermione, rubbing her forehead, and then the dragons arrived. So who knows what it comes down to?
This feels like one of those classic, like Sirius attempting, and hilarious. It also has to do with dragons. Sirius being like, all you need to do is one simple spell, and then Ron comes down the stairs and cuts him off.
Right.
So Harry doesn't get to hear the spell.
Right.
And so it's like, this is Hermione being like, okay, it's very simple. It all comes down to this. And Hermione rubbing her forehead. And then the dragons arrived. Right. She never got to explain.
Yeah, too bad. If only she'd finished that.
Right.
But what she does say is that either Mr. Crouch attacked Victor or somebody else attacked both of them when Victor wasn't looking. So she is right. It is one of those things, and it is in fact the latter. So someone else attacked both of them, which is, of course, Barty Crouch Jr. described as Mad-Eye Moody.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So then, and so I wrote down, I thought that this was just kind of like an interesting way to play it, but like either Mr. Crouch attacked Victor or somebody else attacked both of them when Victor wasn't looking, which she is correct. Like those are the options. And then Ron follows up with, it must have been Crouch, which is incorrect, but also sort of correct when you think about the fact that Mad-Eye Moody is Crouch.
Is Crouch, right.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think what he actually does is even have... Does he like re-Imperius his father to have him attack Crumb? Is that what we find out later?
Yeah, that does sound...
Because he says he attacked... Because Crumb said he attacked me.
Right. Yes, which would make the most sense.
So
I think he's under the invisibility cloak while he's out there, maybe.
Is he?
Is he?
How would he have it?
He has his own.
Oh, he has his own.
Moody does, doesn't he?
Oh, okay. I guess so, because he had one of the Quidditch World Cup.
Right.
Yeah. You're right. So it must have been Crouch, said Ron at once. So Ron is sort of right, sort of wrong about that. He said that's why he'd gone when Harry and Dumbledore got there. He'd done a runner, and I just crossed that out and said he died.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And then Harry's like, I don't think so. He seemed really weak. I don't reckon he was up to disapparating or anything. And then you get the classic Hermione interjection. You can't disapparate into Hogwarts grounds. Haven't I told you enough times?
Yes.
Although this is something that I'm not sure whether or not it's an issue, because later Moody is going to tell Harry that they were like off the map, or at least the boundaries of the map.
Right.
So then it's kind of like one of those questions like, how far can you get from Hogwarts and disapparate? Because in Half-Blood Prince, Harry and Dumbledore can just go down to Hogsmeade. So like sometimes it's almost like, okay, well, I mean, if you can apparate and disapparate in Hogsmeade, like that's pretty adjacent.
It's pretty close. Yeah. Or is it in Fantastic Beasts when they just sort of like are like at the end of the bridge?
That is also the case in Fantastic Beasts. But that feels like one of those things where it's just like, did you guys even read the books?
I know. It's also, and I guess you could be like, well, that was like 80 years ago. So
maybe this protection wasn't in place
they've
yet.
Expanded it, or maybe it wasn't.
Yeah.
Like, that they bring that up all the time though, guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, and she says you can't disapparate in the Hogwarts ground, but you know what? They are going to be able to use. You can port key, which also seems like a weird, just like security problem.
It does.
The port key in the Triwizard Maze is going to work, twice.
So it can not only get you away, but it can also get you back.
Right. Yeah.
Which is very surprising. And then even in Order of the Phoenix, I'm pretty sure that Dumbledore will create a port key using, is it the head of the wizard statue to like send Harry back?
Oh yeah. And
then Fudge is like, that was an unauthorized port key.
Right. And then he also uses I think it's a teapot in his office to get Harry and the Weasleys to number 12 Grimmauld Place.
Yes, you are correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there are, to be fair, like the Triwizard Cup, like we know, it feels like the point was to have it be a port key anyway, to go from the center of the maze to the front of the maze.
Yes.
So that you wouldn't, it would be like, I won, and that would be it. So it's possible that like an enchantment had been lifted in that area for the sake of the tournament.
Right.
And then in both other cases, it's Dumbledore doing the port keys. And, as the headmaster, perhaps he just has
that authority.
Which I know what you're going to say. Dumbledore wasn't the headmaster at the end of the Order of the Phoenix. But I think the school still considers him the headmaster because it never lets Umbridge in the office.
I would 100% agree.
Yeah.
This is another one of those instances where it's like, is Hogwarts alive? Because it's sort of like, it basically is just declining the sentiment that Umbridge has been made headmistress. And so it's sort of like, nope, I disagree.
I mean, heck, even Fawkes arriving then in the Chamber of Secrets feels,
100%
to that effect. It's like, how does Fawkes know? And Dumbledore's like, as long as those are people who are loyal to me. And it's like, yeah, the castle, like the governor has removed Dumbledore, but like the castle's like, yeah, but Dumbledore's still the headmaster.
Precisely.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what's going on. Yeah, it makes
try as you might.
Right. Yes, the castle is sort of like, we get a say in this too, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, so you got to play by some of the rules here. And yeah, man, we're still on the first page here. All right, so that I like Ron in this chapter a lot because like Hermione's going to do a lot of naysaying about like why it can't be certain things, but Ron is offering up like a million ideas in this chapter.
He is definitely, he's trying so hard and literally, the next thing he says is, okay, how's this for a theory, said Ron excitedly. Crumb attacked Crouch. No, wait for it. And then stunned himself. And then my note here says, back off, Ron. Theories are our thing.
Yeah. So this is also wrong. And then Hermione says, oh, Mr. Crouch evaporated, did he? Which I was like, which I highlighted and was like, well, okay, that's true, Hermione, but that's a problem with your own theory as well from the front of this chapter.
Right. Yeah. Yes, it is. Oh, yeah. It was daybreak. Harry, Ron, and Hermione had crept out of the dormitories very early and hurried up to the Owlery together to send a note to Sirius. So I guess now that it's the next day, because this is the very thing that Dumbledore told Harry not to do.
Yeah, he's like, wait until tomorrow. And they're like, it's technically tomorrow.
Yes. And then while they're up in the Owlery, they're kind of given like the rundown of like, kind of just thinking out loud again. Like, okay, let's go through the paces again. What did Mr. Crouch actually say? And he said, and Harry's just like, I told you he wasn't making any sense. He definitely mentioned Bertha Jorkins and seemed to think that she was dead. And
which she is.
Which she is. And again, this is a piece of information that like all the way back in chapter 1 of this book, Harry himself would have learned.
I know. It's like if he could just remember Bertha Jorkins from the first chapter.
I know, it makes such a big difference. But especially because he says, like, he's saying, like, and he seemed to think that she was dead, which is offering so much like distance between Harry's own knowledge that she is dead.
This whole page is going to be like, hey, remember all those cryptic things? Let the characters interpret them for you so you don't think too hard about it.
That is exactly
and
what's
they're
happening.
going to do a bad job at it.
Right. Yes. It's like we respect them enough to think that they have good problem solving skills. However, they don't.
Yeah, they just don't have it.
At least not in this chapter. He kept saying stuff was his fault. He mentioned his son. Well, that was his fault, said Hermione testily, which, it's like, man, that's like a moment too, like where it's like the emotions are kind of like, they're blurring lines for you, the reader, as well.
Yeah.
Like Hermione's frustrated with him for not doing a better job as like a parent. And
it's like, what if they hadn't learned this stuff from Sirius? Like if you remove that conversation and he just said, my son, my fault, what would they think?
Exactly.
Then like if you don't have that information, because they're interpreting it as my son, my fault. Like, oh, they think what he's saying is he's come to his senses and I shouldn't have sent my son to Azkaban to die. That was my fault, is what they're interpreting it as.
Right. And I think this even works well for a discovery that we made in the last chapter as well, which was Harry goes on to say, he was out of his mind. Half the time he seemed to think his wife and son were still alive. And he kept talking to Percy about work and giving him instructions. And he never specifically says Percy. What he keeps saying is Weatherby.
Right.
And so the big thing that we were saying here is that Weatherby must have been a former assistant of Crouch's, because in the instances where he is talking like in the past, Weatherby is also there. And those are the moments where he's like talking about going to a concert with, Cornelius Fudge and his wife and his son and wife were to be joining them.
Yeah.
And he's giving instructions to Weatherby. So it's just kind of funny because like then sometimes, he's speaking in the more modern era as well. But it seems like Weatherby is the only thing that exists in both situations.
Right. And it's like, if you think about it, Percy just got hired this past summer. So when you meet Crouch and Percy at the Quidditch World Cup, like Percy has only been working for him for like at max 7 weeks.
Right.
Right. So boy, he's so pompous after just 7 weeks.
He really is. Cauldron bottoms.
Cauldron bottoms indeed. But in any case, if Percy was hired to fill the former Weatherby's role, then it means that Weatherby, if Weatherby was a character, it means that Weatherby would have been working with Crouch in that department with him, like as his assistant since before Barty Crouch Jr. had been
Sent to Azkaban. Yeah.
So he'd have been working with him for like over 15 years.
Right.
In which case, it is so much more believable to me that Barty Crouch Sr., man of 250 languages, is just like by force of habit calling Weasley Weatherby because that's what he said for 15 years.
Exactly.
And not just forgetting his name, which just doesn't sound like him.
It really doesn't. Like, this is somebody who's so meticulous in every way. You know, he's got like the perfectly straight mustache and he's dressed so exactly correctly that like even Uncle Vernon couldn't tell the difference. And you know, it's like everything is just so, to be making this like glaring error about who your assistant is like, that doesn't fit.
It doesn't seem like it fits. I can believe that it's just a bad habit, like born of years and years of tradition.
Now, the really fun thing would be if we could figure out somebody that we would believe to be Weatherby.
Oh.
You know, because then it's sort of like, is this a person of significance? Because they would have been working on the right arm of otherwise a rather important ministry official for such a long period of time.
Yeah. Yeah. That is true. That is true. It's interesting about the dinner with the Fudges as well, because they'd be going to that dinner with the Fudges. If it's before his son is sent to Azkaban, then neither of those people, then that's before Fudge is the minister.
I know, that's a good question. Now I'm curious to see.
Yeah, I mean, believably, he was also just a high-ranking official at the ministry. Because otherwise, why would you get sent up the ladder so high?
Right. But that's the other thing, too, is that Fudge ends up basically taking his job.
Yeah. You know, I never consider that Fudge has a wife either.
Yeah, that's a good point.
She never comes up except for that one sentence.
Right.
We're digging so much into a sentence that most people consider just a nonsense sentence.
Well, that's the entire point of this podcast.
I know.
Yeah. But yeah, so it does not. And I was like, oh, crap. Like, what if it refers to him as the minister in that scene? Because then that would really start to throw a wrench in how much we can trust anything he's saying, because he wouldn't have been made minister yet. It's not until after Barty Crouch Jr. goes to Azkaban that Fudge is made minister. So, but it does say, "Thank you, Weatherby. And when you have done that, I would like a cup of tea. My wife and son will be arriving shortly. We are attending a concert tonight with Mr. and Mrs. Fudge." So they must just be co-workers at this point.
At that point, if he is in fact having a lucid thought.
Yes. However much we can trust that. And and everybody's like, guys, it's just, who cares? You know,
I do care.
I know,
I want to know.
Right. Who is Weatherby?
Who was Weatherby? Because it's like, it's such, I mean, it feels like the point of the whole Weatherby thing is just to make fun of Percy, which I still think it is, but it's like, it doesn't necessarily fit with Crouch, and this would make more sense to me.
It absolutely would make more sense.
Yeah.
Yes. And then if it's no mistake that there was a former assistant Weatherby, then it's important to us to know who that is.
Yeah. Who was it?
Right.
Who does he go on to be? Did he die? Who's to say?
I mean, Bertha Jorkins would have gone missing at around the same time.
That's true, but it feels like we'd know more. Well, but Barty Crouch Sr. is so good at covering stuff up.
Oh,
Willoughby died, but then we'd hear about him from Voldemort, though. You know,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. He would be bragging or something.
He'd be bragging.
He'd have something to say.
Yeah, he'd come out of the wand, or I don't know.
That would be so funny if it's like you're getting the regurgitation of all the witches and wizards, and we've heard all about Bertha Jorkins and Cedric and Harry's parents and the whole nine, and then there's just and Frank Bryce, and then there's I'm Weatherby.
That'd be such a funny reveal if you were like, oh my gosh,
what?
That's about the joke, the whole book.
Right.
Okay, so obviously Voldemort didn't kill Weatherby. Whoever he is, maybe he's just enjoying a nice, quiet retirement.
A holiday in Albania.
A holiday.
Yeah. Maybe he was trying to take Bertha Jorkins on like a romantic trip because of his retirement.
Yeah.
And she basically stiffed him and just never showed up and chose Peter Pettigrew instead.
It's Weatherby's fault. Well, look, you guys heard it here first. Weatherby is real, okay?
Yeah, he's a real guy.
He's a real guy. He's a whole separate character And that's that's the new headcanon of the podcast. So
exactly. Yep. Okay, so then let's see here. So half the time, he still didn't think his wife and son were still alive. He kept talking about Percy, giving him instructions. And remember what he said about who, said Ron tentatively. And remind me what he said about who, said Ron tentatively. I've told you, Harry repeated dully. He said he's getting stronger. And it's sort of like, definitely believe that, guys.
Yes.
Pull
that part's true.
Yeah.
And then Ron's trying to be like, well, that's probably the part we shouldn't trust, right? Of course, if anything he said, that part can't be true.
Right. Ron ignoring the obvious writing on the wall.
I know.
But he was out of his mind, like you said. So half of it was probably just raving.
Never mind Harry's dream at the beginning of the year, or the Death Eaters at the World Cup, or the Dark Mark, or anything like that, or Harry's name at the Goblet of Fire. It's probably not Voldemort.
It probably, yeah. This is like one of those where it's like, is it impressive how much they figure out, or is it shocking how little they figure out?
Oh, yeah, right. Maybe.
Like if you're living in this world, it's like, guys, there's clearly something afoot right now.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Clear. I know. Of course, we're sitting here with hyper hindsight.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's also true.
Yeah.
He was the sanest when he was trying to talk about Voldemort, which I don't think is necessarily true. It seems like maybe that's when he was having like a really difficult time getting the words out.
It's like when he was the most present.
Or exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. But that's maybe that's what Harry means. It's almost like he was really fighting to try to communicate those words. But my interpretation of it is that is probably when he would be the most creepy. Like he's just barely getting important, pertinent words out one after the other.
Right.
Dumbledore, my fault. It's sort of like,
right.
Whew.
My son, brother, dead. Harry Potter, Dark Lord, stronger.
Yeah.
Bench press. Baldy's just been working out. Yeah. By stronger, I mean muscular.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's so it included with our Goblet of Fire pin, we come up with Swole Voldemort. Swoldemort. That's a joke. We're not doing that one. Well, maybe we'll see.
I don't know. We got Hot Hagrid. We got Swoldemort.
I know. Yeah. Sign up for our 2026 thirsty calendar. Where the most unlikely Harry Potter characters are.
Oh boy.
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
Oh geez.
Yeah. Good times. Good times.
Yep.
Anyway, so then Harry recounts that he just kept saying that he wanted to see Dumbledore.
Wanted to warn Dumbledore.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like Harry phrases that a little wrong there. But then of course, this is another clever trick. He starts blaming Snape. Oh, if Snape hadn't held me up, we might have gotten there in time. And it's that makes you blame Snape for the situation rather than Moody. Not that you're likely to be blaming Moody in the first place, but it definitely places your blame somewhere else.
Exactly. And then of course we have to come back to the common solution, which is accusing Snape. Maybe he didn't want you to get there, said Ron quickly. Maybe hang on. And here goes another theory alert. How fast do you reckon he could have gotten down to the forest? Do you reckon he could have beaten you and Dumbledore there? Not unless he can turn himself into a bat or something, said Harry. And it's so funny that he chooses bat.
I know.
Because it's come on, for real. It could, any other fast creature could have worked here. But Snape is so vampire-like. The fact that Harry reaches for bat, it's kind of maybe he can. Maybe he can.
Maybe he could.
I know that this is sort of like one of those details that's sort of been disproven, but I do kind of keep a quiet little headcanon in the back of my mind that Snape's got a little bit of vampire blood.
Yeah. Well, the other clever thing about this little bit here is that this is exactly what Moody did do, was beat Dumbledore and Harry back down there.
This is true.
Right. And they're well, they definitely couldn't have happened unless you're really fast or something. And Moody, of course, has his peg leg. And yeah, that is what happened.
That is what happened. Yeah. And then hilariously, Hermione's immediate reaction to all of this, while they're suspecting Snape, is, we need to see Professor Moody. We need to find out whether he found Mr. Crouch. And of course,
like he would tell you.
Yeah, exactly. That's so true.
I know.
It's we need to go ask the teacher for top secret information.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll just share that with us.
Yeah.
The thing is, of course, that he did find Mr. Crouch, and he's definitely not going to tell you the truth.
Yeah. It's kind of like the reverse of what happens at the Quidditch World Cup, where his dad finds him in the woods.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's sort of like this I've never noticed that before, but it is sort of like a mirror discovery situation.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's see here. So then Harry points out, if you had the Marauders map on him, it would have been easy, said Harry, unless Crouch was already outside the grounds. And that's because it only shows up to the boundaries, doesn't it? And so that kind of goes back to the point that Hermione was making, where it's like, well, you can't apparate in or out of Hogwarts, but it's like, if they were outside of the grounds, then you could, right?
Yeah. I guess, well, yeah.
I mean, not that it matters because it doesn't actually like play. That's not what happened, but
right.
But like maybe Hermione's not totally correct.
Yeah, we just don't know where the apparition lines are around Hogwarts or anything.
Right.
So, but then it's like he says, if he had the Marauders map on him, it would have been easy, and he did have the map.
Right. He did. Yep.
But of course, it's like this is like you think Moody's looking for him, and he's not. He's just puttering around, putting on a show. He knows exactly what's happening.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
Through the Gryffindor is sponsored by Pear Eyewear. Y'all know how we love to keep our bronze eagle eyes open for a good old-fashioned Easter egg. And of course, I don't mean the toffee-filled dragon-sized variety. No, I mean the good old-fashioned wink from the creators, animators, set designers, or otherwise. The details that we, the most leaned in of them all, are always on the hunt for. And if you want to have the keenest eye and a little Easter egg action on your own face, then you want Pear Eyewear. So let me explain. So Pear Eyewear makes amazing base frames to start out. They're comfortable, stylish, and all that, all on their lonesome. And then you've got the top frames. And this is like the secret sauce. They just snap on magnetically, and they include a legion of fandom-friendly collaborators. So you can sport your stuff no matter what film you're taking in this blockbuster season. So with collabs like Disney princesses, Mickey and Friends, Marvel, Star Wars, Harry Potter, hello, and so much more, you can turn your own face into an Easter egg. Heck, they've even got sports. When the Celtics were in the playoffs, I was wearing these to the bar, and I was like, I have an occasion for this, and I'm going to do it. And I swear, people will like sort of notice. Wait. Is that Grogu on your glasses? That is so cool. So you get free shipping on US orders, free returns and exchanges within 30 days, no questions asked. So spot the Easter eggs. Go to paireyewear.com and use code Griffin for 15% off your first pair, and support the show by mentioning that Through the Gryffindor sent you in your post-checkout survey. That's paireyewear.com, code Griffin. Yeah.
And then the scene is interrupted because somebody was climbing up the steps of the Owlery. Harry could hear two voices arguing, coming closer and closer. And it's, of course, Fred and George. And we overhear, that's blackmail, that is. We can get into a lot of trouble for that. We've tried being polite. It's time to play dirty, like him. He wouldn't like diminish her magic knowing what he did. I'm telling you, if we put that in writing, it's blackmail. Yeah, and you won't be complaining if we get a nice fat payoff, will you?
Right. So I think fun little delineation here. It is George who is concerned about the blackmailing, and Fred who's like, we got to blackmail.
Yeah, it's like that's where we're at.
This is the line apparently between Fred and George, and where they each individually feel like breaking the rules is allowed. Fred seems to be willing to go one step further than George.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. So we know that Fred is a little bit more of a risk taker.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
All things being equal.
Yes.
Which hopefully that doesn't cost him anything.
Oh no.
I can't start making Fred is dead jokes. That one hurts too bad.
That's so much worse than Cedric.
It's way worse. It's
dead Fred is way worse than dead Ced.
Yeah. Yes. They all rhyme. Do you think that's important?
No. Lupin doesn't rhyme.
I'm trying to think of a way to rhyme.
But dead Ted Tonks rhymes, right? He dies, right?
Dead Ted?
Dead Ted.
Yeah.
You got dead Ted, dead Ced, and dead Fred. Oh dear.
If your name rhymes with dead.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay.
Look out.
The owl door banged open. Fred and George came over to the threshold, then froze at the sight of Harry, Ron, and Hermione. What are you doing here? Ron and Fred said at the same time. This is sort of like an adorable scene.
It is.
Because they're all kind of doing things that are secretive, and they both have a member of each party saying the same things at each other. So Ron from the trio side and Fred from Fred and George's side, and then sending a letter, said Harry and George in unison.
Yeah. What at this time said Hermione and Fred?
Fred grinned. And I just think this is adorable. Like, this is like one of those like HBO moments where it's like, please give us this moment.
Yes.
Like it will be great.
Got to get this line. Yeah. This one needs to be in there because it's just a funny scene. He gets all 5 characters talking. Yeah.
Exactly.
Very fun.
Yes.
So I love that. I hope they include that. And Fred just sort of like, all right. You do your thing, we'll do our thing. See you later.
We have reached a deal. Yep. He was holding a sealed envelope in his hands. Harry glanced at it, but Fred, whether accidentally or on purpose, shifted his hand so that the name on it was covered.
If only Harry could have read Ludo Bagman right here.
I know. Yeah. My note says, maybe it's neither. Maybe it was the wind.
Yeah. Who's to say?
Who's to say? Yeah. But of course, Ron overheard it and says, who are you blackmailing? And it's like, oh gosh.
Uh-oh.
And the grin vanished from Fred's face. Harry saw George half glance at Fred before smiling at Ron. Don't be stupid. I was only joking, he said easily. Didn't sound like that, said Ron.
Didn't sound like that.
Fred and George looked at each other. Then Fred abruptly says, I've told you before, Ron, keep your nose out of it if you like the shape it is. Can't see why you would, but.
This whole exchange has to be in the show.
It's so good.
Can't see why you would, but.
Yeah, totally got him.
I love it's like he can't resist. He wants him to butt out, but he's also sort of like, yeah, but you know what? I need to throw a dig in here as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Let's see here. So then we get kind of a hilarious line though, which is that you're starting to sound a bit like our dear old brother you are, Ron. Carry on like this and you'll be made a prefect. And Ron's like, no, I won't. And it's like, oh, yes, you will.
And yet just months, not long at all. Because what is it? We're at the end of May. So we have like 11 weeks before it's going to happen?
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Incoming rapidly.
Right. Yeah. It is basically in the mail, as far as I can tell.
Right.
And to, not to Harry, which is going to such a kerfuffle that's going to be.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh boy. Anyway, can't wait for that scene. So yes, Ron will become a prefect in the very next book, despite his misgivings about it.
Right.
Yes. And it works out for him because then he gets to join the Quidditch team. That would be interesting if Harry had gotten the prefect one, because then Ron wouldn't have gotten the reward for becoming a prefect and might not have had a broom to try out for Quidditch.
Oh,
in which true. Cormac McLaggen probably would have been the keeper.
Oh,
wow.
And then Hermione and him just end up together and sail off into the sunset.
Wow, probably not.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah. I'm not a big McLagmione.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Cormini?
Oh, that's better.
Yeah.
I
don't think anyone's shipping that, right?
No.
Hopefully not.
Hermac
McLaggen. Yes. Hermac. That's it.
Hermac McGranger.
Hermac McGranger. There we go.
Yeah.
Do you think Lavender would have selected Ron if he wasn't playing Quidditch?
Ooh, good question.
I guess so, because she comes to the tryouts just to cheer him on.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
never mind. Yeah, maybe who's to say.
Yeah, Ron's still desirable.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
He's so tall.
Exactly. He's so tall and gangly and freckly.
And freckly. People love that.
He's a prefect.
His hair
Maybe
clashes.
she only likes him because he's a prefect.
Oh, that's a weird choice.
I know. Yeah. What does that say about Lavender?
Percy has really slandered the good prefect name.
I know. Except for Rod. Like Hermione's a prefect. Well, that just makes sense.
It just makes sense.
That does make sense.
Good for her.
But then Draco becomes a prefect. What is Dumbledore doing?
What is he doing?
Why is he like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to choose Harry. I'm going to choose Draco. Do I see any problems here? Nah.
It's
going to be fine. It's going to be fine.
I love playing with fire.
It would have been great if Dumbledore was like, and it goes to Crabbe.
That would have been hysterical.
Yeah. Draco's like, excuse me?
What?
Can't even read.
Can't even read.
No, you can't read.
If you're going any slower, you'd be going backwards.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Let's see here.
Let's see. So Fred and George make their way past them, basically do a very speedy job of sending their owl, and then they leave, and the trio are left wondering, you don't think they could know something about all this, do you? Which don't see why they think this could somehow be related, but
I guess it's just because they're in the midst of trying to solve some type of weird criminal-ish seeming behavior, and then these two show up and they're talking about blackmailing somebody. And it's sort of wow, that's weird. 2 crimes in one day.
Yeah, I suppose so. Of course, this isn't the same day. It's months earlier.
Right. But I think Harry's got the good read on Fred and George at the end of the day, which I think really is what it comes down to with Fred and George. It's as much as they joke, it's they do still end up being members of, the Order of the Phoenix, and they do still fight in the Battle of Hogwarts, and, they're very heroic people. And so Harry's assessment here is if it was something that serious, they'd tell someone. They'd tell Dumbledore. Ron sort of contests it, and he's sort of I don't know if they would. They're obsessed with making money lately. I noticed it when I was hanging out with them when
Yeah, he tries to skirt it, and Harry's just like, when we weren't talking. Right. Continue.
Right.
Don't be so awkward, Ron.
Exactly. But yeah, like the joke shop, I think it's all continuing to like muddy the waters about like what Fred and George are up to. And more importantly, it sort of keeps like the Ludo Bagman conversation, like as it's sort of like misdirect.
Yeah, exactly.
While everything, because you really just have two different plots going on.
Right, exactly.
And that's the main thing.
Yeah. But then I think this is such an interesting read here where it says, it's this joke shop idea they've got. I thought they were only saying it to annoy Mom, but they really mean it. They want to start one. It's like, it is funny. It is interesting to me that Ron was not taking them seriously at all.
Yeah. It seems like that's just him failing to recognize like the actual efforts they've gone to, the fact that they're selling stuff. Like, it's like, it seems fairly evident that they're for real about it.
I know, but he's like, I thought they were only saying it to annoy Mom. It's like even Ron, who is spending time with them and who knows them, especially well, like doesn't think they're being serious, which then kind of makes you feel like it's like, maybe like, I mean, Fred and George are so likable and so funny and so great all the time, but it's like, I wonder if they have like a little bit of like a lonely existence where like literally nobody takes them seriously.
It's a good question. Yeah. Like, I mean, and it's like when push comes to shove, I think that like even Molly herself ends up being very pleasantly surprised by how much like flair for business that they've got and how successful they've become. And like they even then spoil her rather lavishly and buy her like really nice presents and stuff like that. Like, it's definitely something where I could see a world where maybe they were like a little bit frustrated that like they had this deep interest and it was never really properly like supported, other than just by each other. But maybe that was enough to like spur them on all the while.
Sure.
But you're right. Yeah, it's a very good point. Like, and maybe even coming from like the Weasley household where, Charlie's working with dragons and Bill works for Gringotts and Percy immediately went and got a job at the Ministry working for, Barty Crouch Sr. It's like maybe on some level, it's kind of like, yeah, jokes are all good and fun and everything, but you're gonna have to find like a real career someday. And like that's what our family does. And they're definitely walking to the beat of their own drum. There's no doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, we have a real career in mind and we are going to be good at it.
Exactly. But that takes a lot of courage.
It does. Gryffindors,
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
But we're also getting kind of like the setup here as well, because like Dad can't help them and they need the gold to get started. And so that's like laying the groundwork a little bit for what will be the conclusion of their plot at the end of the year, which is that Ludo Bagman is unable to pay them, but then Harry is going to have this pile of gold that he has no interest in keeping.
Yeah.
And so
I want to say the gold he gives them is more than they would have gotten in payout from Ludo.
Is that something we knew?
I think so. How much is the bet with Ludo?
37 galleons, 15 sickles, 3 knuts, and a trick wand.
And he gives them 10 to 1 odds. So they only would have gotten like 370 galleons from that particular bet.
Okay.
Whereas Harry gives them almost triple that.
Okay. Yes. So that's it's plenty enough to get going on.
Yeah.
Okay. I gotcha. But they have to buy Ron some dress robes.
They do have to buy Ron some dress robes.
So we have to deduct that.
Yes. So take that out of there.
Right.
Don't think that's going to cost them very much.
I don't think that's too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope. All right. So moving on here. They are talking about like, would they do that? Would they blackmail somebody? And Hermione's like, I don't know. That's the law. That's like, this isn't some silly school rule, which I think is funny because it just sort of shows Hermione's growth, where in year 1, she's like, you're going to get us killed or worse, expelled. Where it's like silly school rules are the absolute letter of the law to first year Hermione.
Right.
But now 4th year Hermione's like, school rules, I mean, they're breakable all the time, whatever. Yeah.
We do that. That's who we are.
That's who we are.
Kind of our brand. I like to think she like knocked a little dust off her shoulder after that one.
Some silly school rules there, Ron.
Right.
This is the law.
But the law.
The letter of the law. It's so funny that she says that too, when next year, Umbridge's method of attack will be to create laws.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Yep.
Yeah. And at that point, Hermione's like, screw that. We're going to be breaking some laws.
It's fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, what does she say?
Yeah. It's kind of exciting, isn't it? Breaking the rules. Who are you and what have you done with Hermione?
What a moment.
I know. That was a good moment. Yes.
Oh, man. But yeah, then Hermione suggests like, Ron, maybe you'd better tell Percy. And I'm just like, I disagree. Not for any reason ever. No, don't do that.
Yeah. Are you mad? Tell Percy. He'd probably do a crouch and turn them in. Likely. Yes.
Yeah.
Probably would.
Yeah, and Harry's like, "What?" Or no, let's see here. Then we get the kind of a pace change. Yeah. Do you think it's too early to go and see Professor Moody? Hermione said as they went down to the spiral staircase. Yes, said Harry. He'd probably just blast us through the door if we wake him at the crack of dawn. He'll think we're trying to attack him while we sleep. Let's give him till break.
Yeah. I guess that means he sleeps at his office, right?
It must be
Be the case.
Like, I feel like when they go and visit Slughorn and Half-Blood Prince, that's also true.
Yeah.
So maybe they all have like
there must be like a
sleeping orders.
chamber off the office or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Nothing like walking out of your bedroom directly into your work office, you know?
Yeah. Good times.
Yes.
Separation of
work and, personal space. Oh boy. Then we get another update on Harry's watch, which apparently we need to know the status of at all times.
I'm not going to lie to you. I am like so confused and perplexed as to why the watch thing continues to come up.
I know. I'm it feels like the sort of thing where you're like, are we supposed, am I missing something? Like, is there a reason that we need to know Harry's watch broke?
Right. Yes. Like it's happened so many. Yeah. So he loses it stops working when he goes down in the lake in the second task. And so that's sort of like, okay, I don't know how much time I have left because my watch broke. That totally makes sense. Then he forgets to take it off for some big stretch of time. And when he's talking to Sirius in the cave, he goes to look at it, forgetting that it broke while he was in the second task. And now finally we also get History of Magic had rarely gone so slowly. Harry kept checking Ron's watch, having finally discarded his own.
Great to know.
It's like
it does not matter.
Right. I know.
Like, I would love for there to be some tidy payoff. Like, oh yeah, because Harry didn't have his watch, but
no. Yeah. But Ron's was moving so slowly, they could have sworn it stopped working too.
Ugh.
Watches just don't work like they used to.
Why not? I feel like, Ron was in the lake too,
That's true. Yeah. Maybe McGonagall was like, Ronald, before you go down, better take that off.
I'll take that watch off.
Right. Yeah. Oh, man. But even Hermione wasn't taking her usual notes, but sitting with her head on her hand, gazing at Professor Binns with her eyes out of focus.
Wow. Even Hermione can't be bothered to take notes in this class.
Goodness.
Which at this point, how much more can there even be to be told about Goblin rebellions, you know?
I really don't know.
Right?
Yeah, it seems like such an ongoing thing.
It does.
Did you know that we discovered, and we maybe have already discussed this, I can't remember, but that we always go on and on about Florian Fortescue in book 3 telling Harry about Goblin rebellions, and
but it's actually witch burnings.
It's actually witch burnings, and we've made the joke like 1,100 times, and we've been wrong every time.
We got Mandela affected,
We really, really did.
At one point, it was Goblin rebellions. It had to be.
It had to be.
Yeah,
we all remember it that way, don't we?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, apparently not.
Apparently, yeah. So anyway, even just one paragraph later, they finally head down to Professor Moody's room and says he looked as tired as they felt, which to me is kind of confusing because it's like, why would he, he knows the truth. So why is he even staying up all night, Well,
he was digging the hole.
Digging the hole?
To plant the bone in.
To plant the bone in? Feels like he has a wand. People forget they can do magic so often.
Maybe it's like the Dobby situation. He's sort of like, yes, I turned my father into a bone, and yes, I'm going to bury him in this, patch of freshly tilled earth, but got to do it by hand.
Got to do it by hand. That is so no, it is not like that.
No, I know.
Harry is being the most of noble at that moment.
Yes.
This is
the bottom of noble.
This is the guy who just murdered his dad.
It's not good.
It's not good.
Yeah, he didn't dig it by hand. I think we can be fairly certain about that.
Should have taken him about 3 seconds. Dirt. It's not even you have to I don't know how much magic it would require to move loose dirt versus unloose dirt. But this is just move the dirt.
I mean, we watched Slughorn do it at Aragog's
exactly.
funeral, where he's just, it makes the satisfying flump, flump.
Yes, exactly. You know how dirt sounds.
Yeah. You've dropped a pile of dirt into a hole all at once before.
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Anyway, so they run into Professor Moody at long last.
Yes.
Hello, Potter. His magical eye followed a couple of passing first years who sped up looking nervous. It rolled into the back of Moody's head and watched them around the corner before he spoke again. I just highlighted that because it just reminds me vaguely of Crabbe and Goyle under Polyjuice Potion in Half-Blood Prince again, where they're standing guard outside of the room of requirement. The fact that Moody is paying these first years so much attention is sort of like, why?
Why? Yeah.
Just his constant paranoia, constant vigilance.
So. Yeah.
Yeah.
Suppose so. But they immediately start questioning him. Harry has no preamble at all. It just says, "Did you find him, Mr. Crouch?" No. So this, I mean, it's like, to me, we were sort of joking, like they just assume Moody will tell them, but he pretty much does.
He pretty much does. Well, he's lying.
He's lying, of course. Yes. But,
right. Yeah. Harry's like, "Did you use the map? Because I want some credit for that."
Yes.
"Of course," said Moody, taking a swig from his flask. "Took a leaf out of your book, Potter. Summoned it from my office into the forest. There wasn't anyone on there."
Yeah. I mean, I suppose that could, well, obviously that he might have summoned the map anyway so that he could see what Harry and Dumbledore were doing up at the school.
True.
But he definitely wasn't looking for his dad. He knows exactly where his dad is the entire time.
Right,
Yes.
right. But yeah, then Hermione chimes in again, as she always does. "You can't separate on the grounds of Hogwarts, Ron," said Hermione. And you get this line from Moody, who's sort of like, "You're another who might consider a career as an Auror," he told her. "Mine works the right way, Granger." And Hermione flushed pink with pleasure.
Flattery as a shield.
Yes,
Very
indeed.
effective.
Very effective indeed.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I think this is gonna like get Ron all excited. And
I know. He's
gonna,
like, I want to be told I could be a good Auror.
it's like 2 out of 3 of us. Can we make it a full 3 for 3?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
The Triple Crown.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
So yeah, like what is Hermione, like what Hermione said, not really that impressive.
True.
Like she said, like, "You can't disapparate," said Ron. So he did disapparate. Says, "You can't disapparate, but there are other ways." And he's like, "Wow, really good point. You should be an Auror." Like, wasn't that good a point?
Maybe that's just him trying to divert them.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So Ron comes up with an actual solution here. Yeah, someone could have put him onto a broom and flown off with him, couldn't they? Said Ron, looking hopefully at Moody as if he too wanted to be told that he had the makings of an Auror. So love the enthusiasm from Ron here, and Moody does throw him a bone. Wink. Says, "We can't rule out kidnap." It's like, I guess that is technically possible.
Right. Yes. It's like that one technically. Yeah. There's. I mean, sure. Why not? Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see here. "Do you reckon he's somewhere in Hogsmeade?" "It could be anywhere. Only thing we know for sure is that he's not here."
Yep.
Which is that's like one of those lines where it's like I almost wish I had like a sliver of double meaning, you
Right.
know, like because he is there. He's just completely lying.
Yeah, now he's just absolutely lying. Yes, yeah, he's really throwing them off. Definitely where he isn't. The only place we know he's not is here. So don't look here. You know,
Don't look here. Anywhere
don't-
else, completely fair game. You won't
Yes.
find him.
Right.
But here, well,
Nah, don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
Not that you could even, like, it's always well, I always think it's surprising, like, why'd you choose a bone to transfigure him into? But then, like, the part of the actual plot of the end of the book is going to be Voldemort stealing a bone from his father to resurrect himself.
yeah.
So part of me is like, oh, Barty Crouch Jr. is like setting up his own resurrection story here.
got
He's
like
like, I got to leave that opportunity open.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's got like his own little like, oh man.
It's like, was he planning to make a Horcrux or something? Could have been.
Could have
you know?
been.
I mean, wouldn't
Yeah.
surprise me at all.
No, none whatsoever. Yeah,
No.
he's definitely pretty dark.
Yeah.
But
Who's
what-
to say he didn't? You know, who's to say he didn't?
is Moody just? Oh, not is Moody. Is Barty Crouch Jr. still alive out there?
I
waiting?
mean, all we know is that we know his soul is sucked out, but like, you know, his if he has a Horcrux, another piece of his soul could be somewhere else.
oh,
You know what I mean?
Oh man,
You know what I mean? I mean, we just saw him murder somebody. You know,
Yeah.
literally right here. That could have been. Maybe this is the moment. Maybe he made a Horcrux that night.
Maybe this is the real reason, because we've always complained that like Barty Crouch Jr. would be like the perfect, like, you know, like if you want to have Voldemort at the top and you've got Bellatrix on one flank, having Barty Crouch Jr. on the other makes so much sense. And I suppose the key reason that he's not there is because that like makes room for Snape to effectively take that position, or at some point in time, Lucius is supposed to be existing in that position. But man, Barty Crouch Jr. coming back would be a great like adult villain for Harry to have to face.
Ben.
Yeah.
Ben. Okay. If he made it right here this night, there's only so many things it could be, right?
Okay.
Okay. If you fast forward to Order of the Phoenix, when the Order is picking him up, Moody is having trouble with the eye because it says it hasn't fit well since the imposter
It's the
had it in.
eye.
But maybe it doesn't fit well because there's something new to it.
Oh my gosh. And then let's see, where does it go? Harry buries it.
Harry
doesn't he?
buries it at the gnarled tree. Yes, the toughest tree in the forest.
So we were even given
given
a very
the location,
like a very specific place for it to be.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sequel bait.
It is so sequel bait,
man.
because he has just a husk of a body. He could even the soul could just go back into his body, straight up. He's just back. Oh, it's so sequel bait, man.
Crap.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, I love that idea too, because then he just sort of continues to haunt Moody the whole time,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh. Man. Okay. That's something to ponder on right there. That's pretty exciting, though.
That is. Yeah.
Yeah. So now we have the Founder series that we want to do, and now I think we start building bricks for our sequel.
Sequel series here.
Yeah.
Sorry, Cursed Child, you're out.
You're out. Yeah. I don't think anybody will be too upset.
I don't think so.
Anyway, in our version of it, Harry goes on to be Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher.
Harry goes on to be Defense Against the Arts teacher. Exactly.
Yeah, it makes more sense. It
makes more sense.
And he's a good dad.
And he's a good dad.
Because, Harry didn't get to have his dad. And it seems like the whole point of then having his own kids would be like being like a really good dad.
Gets to be a good dad.
I've digressed.
Okay, we're getting off track here. In any case, Moody is in the Barty Crouch Jr. is in the process of lying to the trio. Says, "Now Dumbledore's told me that you three fancy yourselves as investigators, but there's nothing you can do for Crouch. The Ministry of Belief." So what he's saying is, don't investigate.
Yes.
Please don't look into this.
Yes, Potter, you just keep your mind on the third task.
Right.
And basically, my interpretation of this advice is don't focus on messing up my plan. Focus on implementing it.
Exactly. Listen here, y'all are getting way off track here. I want you to be focusing on doing what I want, not uncovering my secret.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Classic villains.
Classic.
Oh man, but then he keeps with the flatter. He says, should be right up your street, this task. From what Dumbledore said, you've managed to get through stuff like this plenty of times. Broke your way through a series of obstacles guarding the Sorcerer's Stone in your first year, didn't you? And
Ron's like, us too.
We were there.
It wasn't Harry, not just Hermione, me.
Me. I was really good at chess.
Yes.
We helped, said Ron quickly. Me and Hermione helped. Moody grinned. Well, help him practice for this one, and I'll be very surprised if he doesn't win, said Moody.
I'll also be helping.
Yes. We're all helping.
We're all helping. Dude, one of my favorite scenes in Goblet of Fire, which is saying something because they live so much out, is when Harry goes into the maze and he looks back and Moody is staring back at him and he gives him a little that way.
Yeah, like a little point to the left.
To the left. Yeah. It's just such a little you feel like he's helping so much, but he's obviously he's not.
But obviously, even Dumbledore in that moment, I feel like is standing in the background being like, something seems weird here.
Yeah, but he does. He's like it's such a well concealed little hand motion.
It is
that he does. Yeah.
Pretty
so sneaky,
pretty spot on.
Yeah.
Let's see here. In the meantime, constant vigilance, Potter. Constant vigilance.
Except right now.
Yes.
Where I, the bad guy, am in front of you.
Right. Let's see here. He took another long draught from a sip flask and his magical eye swiveled onto the window. The topmost sail of the Durmstrang ship was visible through it. Is there any part of you that thinks he's looking at anything special there, or is he just looking at the Durmstrang ship?
I was wondering that as well. What is he thinking here when he's looking at the Durmstrang ship? You too, Council Moody. Or is he just supposed to be making is he saying constant vigilance and staring at the ship as if to say the real threat's out there or something? Is this beware of Karkaroff sort of thing?
Like maybe he's almost trying to be like Karkaroff. Worry about him.
Look about him. Look over
kind
there.
of send him into a false run.
Right.
Let's see here. You can never have too many eyes out.
Yeah.
Doesn't that feel like with our horcrux idea?
Yeah.
You can never have too many eyes out there.
Never too many eyes out there.
Keeping your body alive, your soul alive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, and then Umbridge gets the eye for a while.
Oh, you're right.
Gross.
It would just power her up, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
Ugh.
That means, oh my gosh, that means she would simultaneously have the locket and the eye.
Oh
my gosh. It is such a trifecta of evil happening, if that's the case.
If that's the case. Oh no. I mean, it's really taking a lot of boxes of mine.
And I know. So. It's Umbridge is pretty bad.
She's pretty bad. Yeah. Pretty awful.
That's all three of the worst villains in one place though.
Yeah.
If that's the case.
Man, that's like an Avengers level meetup, but like villains.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I don't feel like Barty Crouch Jr. gets enough credit for being one of the worst villains. You know,
No, he definitely doesn't.
No.
But I mean, I think we're helping to rectify that. We make a big
Exactly.
deal about it.
I mean, we have to talk about it basically every chapter.
Basically, every time we're a little like people are like the horse is dead, guys. And, like move on.
No, Cedric's dead. Oh, you didn't think I could do that? Huh?
Every episode, man, that was an alley oop.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was great.
Boom.
Okay. Anyway, so moving on here. Then we get an owl back from Sirius. Let's see here. An owl back from Sirius, as well as a copy of The Daily Prophet at long last for Hermione, who took out a subscription, as you guys may recall.
Yeah.
Finally now in their 4th year. And what she says is that Rita Skeeter has not gotten wind of Crouch yet, which is a good thing.
No, it's a bad thing.
Good point. It's a bad thing. And
It's like Hermione's happy about it, like, haha, she hasn't got wind of it. But actually, it would be good if she did.
Right. That's true. But
Yeah.
what is she doing right now?
I don't know.
Yeah. Why is she missing all of this stuff? All the good things.
All the good things, I know. She's like spying on people at the wrong time. She's going to be up at North Tower later. Why on earth, if you're Rita Skeeter, are you hoping to get a story by overhearing Harry's divination class?
Who knows?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, she does get one, but
Right. Either way, yeah, you're right. Yeah, she does. Either way, though, so let's get on to the letter from Sirius here, which it's kind of an interesting one because this book is full of misdirects. It's full of the red herrings. They're every which way. And Sirius is going to lead off with, Harry, what do you think you're playing at? Walking off into the forest with Victor Crumb. And it's sort of like, I don't think it's Crumb, guys. Like, I just don't think it's Crumb.
yeah.
It's like I feel like Sirius throwing like a little bit of concern. That general direction is supposed to like maybe still fuel that Karkaroff fire. Maybe because we had
a lot of Crouch happening here. Like with their Ludo Bagman just sort of reappeared to like, maybe offer Harry help again.
Right.
Now we're maybe throwing Crumb under the bus. Even this chapter is going to throw Madame Maxime back under the bus. Just sort of like, just really spread it out. Did you forget about that one? Yeah, no, she's still under consideration. Why not?
Well, yeah, it could be anybody. It could be anybody. It could be anybody but Moody.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm surprised by that. I'm just sort of like, yeah. So anyway, then he's like, I want you to swear by Return Owl that you're not going to go walking with anyone else at night. Oddly specific.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, there's someone highly dangerous at Hogwarts, and it's clear to me they wanted to stop Crouch from seeing Dumbledore. You were probably feet away from them in the dark. That is true.
Yes, you could have been killed. But it is like one of those situations where it's kind of like, but he wasn't. Like he could have been, but he wasn't.
But he wasn't. Yeah, you got to think about that. I mean, Harry's going to bring that up. He's going to be like, no one's tried to attack me. Like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't they have if they're trying to kill me?
Right.
And it's like, because that's not the plan. That's the genius of the whole plan, is that everyone thinks the plan is to kill Harry, which eventually it is.
Right.
It's just like not in the way they think.
Right.
Yeah.
He even is going to go on to say that like your name didn't get to the Goblet of Fire by accident. If somebody's trying to attack you, they're on their last chance. And it's almost like he's right and wrong at the same time, because it's literally like the end of the tournament. The success of winning the tournament is what will put him in the most danger.
Right.
So it's really like the thing that immediately concludes winning the tournament.
Right.
Yeah. Let's see here. So then we get a bit of advice this time for once from Sirius, who says, practice stunning and disarming. A few X's wouldn't go amiss either. There's nothing you know about Crouch. Keep your head down and look after yourself. I'll be waiting for your letter, giving me your word you won't stray out of bounds again. Sirius. And then
Serious of all people.
I know. And then Harry is immediately like, who's he to lecture me about being out of bounds, said Harry in mild indignation as he folded up Sirius's letter and put it inside his robes. After all the stuff he did at school. And I'm sort of like, and kind of being like an escaped, believed convict on the run. Like,
Right.
It's like Sirius, as far as the government is concerned, is actively out of bounds.
I know. Yeah.
And it's like,
everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere he
Yeah.
goes. I think it's funny that Harry's like, when he was at school.
Yeah, when he was at school, or every time. I mean, but speaking of the stuff he did at school, one of those things was literally try to kill Snape.
True.
Yeah.
True. Yes.
Don't go walking at night. I tried to kill someone.
That's That's rich, Sirius.
Yeah, that's rich. Okay.
Right, yeah.
And it says, he's worried about you, just like Moody and Hagrid, so listen to them. Once again, grouping Moody and Sirius together. Like,
Yes.
I cannot believe how often it comes up.
It really does. It's
Yeah.
like the number one way to like make you feel like Moody is safe.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then Harry is like, no one's tried to attack me all year, which is not entirely true. I mean, there was the dragon and the mer people and stuff. So
Well, there's that, but they were all like part of like a contest.
Yeah.
You know, they weren't like, dark magic type things. you
yeah,
know?
sure.
The real thing to me is what Hermione points out, which is putting the name of the Goblet of Fire. Like that was the very indirect way of attacking him.
Yes.
Let's see here. So, yeah, and Hermione does say like, maybe they're biding their time. Maybe this is a task they're going to get you. And it's like, it is. Yeah.
Yes.
She's correct there.
I know. Then Harry brings up the point you just said. It says, well, let's say Sirius is right and someone stunned Crumb and kidnapped Crouch. Well, they would have been in the trees near us, wouldn't they? But they waited until I was out of the way till they acted. So it doesn't look like I'm their target, does it? And it's like, ugh. That's such a good point.
It is a very good point.
It is confusing. It's like if Harry is the target and like they did put his name in the Goblet of Fire and he is the target, but then why wouldn't they attack him when they have the chance?
Right. Yeah. And so, then Hermione's like, well, maybe they're just trying to make it seem like an accident because like, if they murdered you in the forest, like that would obviously seem like a problem. But if you died during a task.
Right.
But then he's sort of like, but they didn't care about attacking Crumb. Like,
Right.
like, why didn't they just polish me off at the same time? They could have made it look like Crumb and I had a duel or something. And it's like,
and Hermione's just like, cause stop making good points. I don't know.
I don't understand it either. And I love both of you so much.
I know.
I don't know if we're in a love triangle, Harry.
Yeah. Poor. Then look, here it is again. I don't like it. Moody's right. Sirius is right.
Yeah, you've got to get training for the third task straight away.
Yeah.
That part of me almost just feels like this is like the characters on the page are sort of like, yeah, I know that there's very important things going on, but we need to start convincing everybody that we need to focus on the third task. Like that,
Right.
That's really starting to be a problem.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So it's like they have this thing they could start worrying about, but they have this other very pressing thing. It's like when you want to do something, but you have to pee. And it's like,
Yes.
It's like, God, I really just want to focus on this mystery. I guess I better go finish the task first, though. Like that is going to be a problem if I don't do it.
Yes. Got to pay that some attention. So anyway, in their free time, they start looking up hexes or else empty classrooms in which they sneak to practice. The trouble of practicing these particular spells, though, is that it required some sacrifices on Ron and Hermione's part. And Ron's like, can't we just kidnap Mrs. Norris? Having just been stunned and reawoken by Harry for the 5th time in a row. Let's stun her for a bit. Or could you use Dobby, Harry? I better do anything to help you.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining or anything. He got gingerly to his feet, rubbing his backside. But I'm aching all over.
And Hermione's like gaslighting him.
Yeah, she's like,
you keep missing the cushions, like it's Ron's fault.
I know, yeah, because you have so much control when you're being stunned.
Yeah.
It's like just try and fall backward, and Ron's like, well, once you're stunned, you can't aim too well, Hermione.
Yeah, he's
why don't you take a turn?
She's like, I think Harry's pretty much got it. I don't think we need to take. I don't say why I would have to take a turn.
Why would I have to take it?
Harry's done it 5 times, pretty much master now.
Right. I like to look at this one. She said, the impediment curse should slow down anything that's trying to attack you, Harry. We'll start with that one. And it's crazy to think that this is like the first time that Harry's learning about the impediment curse, because this is the one he's going to use like a lot.
Oh, it's crazy to think this is the first time he's learning about stunning.
Also true.
Also
true.
Yeah, these are going to become some serious bread and butter spells moving forward.
Right.
Yes. But in any case, they start working on some of those, but it's funny to me that they're doing this like in the middle of the day too, like between classes, they're doing training.
Right.
But the bell rings and Hermione has to go to arithmancy, and Harry and Ron head to North Tower for divination.
Yes.
Where apparently it is sweltering hot, and the vibrations are just so perfect in this room on this day. But part of me thinks like she says it must have been these things that were like triggering it. And I'm like, she might be right.
No, I know. It really is like another one of those like Trelawney is always right situations, because like she clearly is like making her room such that like she believes it will help with her clairvoyance or whatever. And then sure enough, like Harry falls asleep and does see like images, things he's not supposed to be seeing.
Right.
So it is rather kind of like unusual timing. I also think it's really funny because like they're talking about how it's going to be boiling in Trelawney's room because she never puts out the fire. And then Harry gets like all settled in, and he opens the window like an inch or so and settled into the chintz armchair so that a soft breeze played across his face, and says it was extremely comfortable. And I was just like, just the description alone made me want to take a nap.
Oh, I know. I was like, man, I want to be in that chair chair with the breeze and the fire and
the chintz.
good. The chintz, exactly. But apparently this is just exactly but it like this is also where Trelawney has the second prophecy about Wormtail, like reuniting with Voldemort, is in her tower.
It's true.
You know, so it's like absolutely. Maybe it makes me feel like there is something to the way she has done the room.
Right. Yes. And even what they're doing in today's class, it says they're going to be looking at like a model of the solar system. And she says, today, however, will be an excellent opportunity to examine the effects of Mars.
Yes.
For he is
bringer of battle.
Yes, exactly. Yes. For he is placed most interesting at the present time. And it's sort of like this is what Ferenz is saying in The Forest in year 1, where he just keeps saying like Mars is bright tonight. Oh, is it Friends?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They all keep saying it.
They all keep saying it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Mars is bright tonight. And,
yeah, we've heard.
But this is exactly what ends up happening in The Forest again in book 7 is, you know, it's like Mars, the position of Mars is finally like coming to fruition. But the fact that she's zeroing in on Mars right now is actually pretty insightful because Voldemort is about to come back. Like the Second War is about to begin.
I know. It says it's making a fascinating angle towards Neptune. And I'm like, I wonder what like I am positive that whatever Neptune stands for and the angle it's making with Mars is relevant to the plot.
Oh, most certainly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's something we should dig into.
I know. Well, like Neptune's usually like the god of the sea and stuff, and like Mars is the god of war. So I'm not sure why the sea would have to do anything with this, but
yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah. But anyway, so then let's see here.
Oh, then we get the Rita Skeeter note here where it says, the heavily perfumed fumes washed over him. The breeze from the window played across his face. He could hear an insect humming gently somewhere behind the curtain. That's Rita Skeeter.
Yes.
You're wondering.
Yes. His eyelids began to droop. And then while I was reading it, I literally yawned.
Oh, nice.
While reading it.
It sounds so cozy.
It really does. It really does. He was riding on the back of an eagle owl. So again, that's the eagle owl that we believe we saw before.
Yeah.
And again, this is the interesting perspective, like to be delivered because it's going to fly to where Wormtail and Nagini and Voldemort are.
Right.
But right now we are quite removed from that scene, and yet somehow magic is still allowing Harry to have this perspective.
Right.
Yeah. Clear blue sky toward an old ivy-covered house set high on a hillside. Where do you think they are?
I think they're at the Riddle House.
You think they're at the Riddle House? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Ivy-covered house set high on a hillside. Lower and lower they flew, the wind blowing pleasantly in Harry's face until they reached a dark and broken window in the upper story of the house and entered. Now they were flying along a gloomy passageway to a room at the very end. Through the door, they went into a dark room with windows, with a room whose windows were boarded up. Harry had left the owl's back. He was now watching as it fluttered across the room into a chair with its back to him. There were 2 dark shapes on the floor beside the chair. Both of them were stirring.
Well, see, because like the position of like entering the room and the chair facing away from the door is extremely similar to the description from Frank Bryce.
It does seem very similar.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the home is kind of like derelict.
Yeah.
You know, like with the ivy covered and boarded up windows and stuff like that. I mean, that sounds like the Riddle House.
Yeah, especially at like, I mean, I don't know if it, like, were the boards on there when Frank was there? Or I guess.
I think it was boarded up.
Oh, okay.
I believe so. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. There you go. Well done. Yeah. I think they're still at the Riddle House. Cause I mean, they're going to do the thing in like the Riddle, the graveyard in Little Hangleton anyway.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
okay.
why travel more than they need to?
Well, that's a good point. Yep. Let's see. There are 2 dark shapes on the floor beside the chair. Both of them were stirring. One was a huge snake. The other was a man, a short, balding man with watery eyes and a pointed nose. He was wheezing and sobbing on the hearthrug. You are in luck, Wormtail, said a high, cold, pitched voice from the depths of the chair in which the owl had landed. You are very fortunate indeed. Your blunder has not ruined everything. He is dead.
Man, it seems crazy to me that they cannot figure out that the he is Mr. Crouch. You know, like I guess they don't know that Barty Crouch is dead. But It's like there was a blunder, now he's dead. It's like you just ran into a guy who now you can't find.
Exactly.
You know, like it's like these dots are starting to feel very close together.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is sort of like the big question that I was kind of having in my mind though is whether or not they were at the Crouch residence, because I guess that's probably where they were keeping him prisoner.
I think so, yeah.
And if Wormtail messed up, it means at the very least that's where he probably was when he messed up, or however Crouch broke free from his control. So that is the thing that Voldemort is blaming Wormtail for here, is for letting him go in the first place. And so obviously Wormtail is, pleading with him, and he's apologizing for this mistake. And basically Voldemort is like, Nagini, you are out of luck. I will not be feeding Wormtail to you after all.
I almost don't understand his logic here. He's like, oh, good, someone else fixed your problem. That means you get to live. But it's like, he still let him go either way.
Right.
I don't see how this absolves Wormtail of any guilt.
Right. Just let Nagini eat him.
Just let him eat him, I mean, I don't think she would. He's pretty gross. She'd probably be I don't think so.
Yeah. Doesn't like rats.
Doesn't like rats, I feel like that's the thing. It's like that's the real reason he's not feeding Nagini to him, because he's told her, he's like, why don't you just go ahead and eat Wormtail? And she's like, threaten him all you want, but I'm not touching that.
I have to be clear with you.
I'm going to be clear with you.
I am not interested.
No.
That is not in my dietary preferences.
No, that thing is gross over there. That guy, I don't think so.
No.
Just kill him. But, don't, you can, I'll be threatening. I'll do that for you, Big V, but I ain't going to eat him.
I ain't going to eat him.
Yeah.
Especially funny when you know that Nagini used to just be like a human person. Yeah. Let's see here. Then Voldemort goes on to torture Wormtail.
Torture Wormtail, says he's going to feed Harry to Nagini instead. And then Wormtail is indeed not off the hook entirely. He does remind him that, okay, I'm not going to kill you, but I do need to remind you that you are going to be punished for this. And he performs a Cruciatus curse on him, which sends Harry into a screaming rage way back at Hogwarts in the North Tower.
Yes, indeed. Harry opened his eyes. He was lying on the floor of Professor Trelawney's room with his hands over his face. His scar was burning so badly that his eyes were watering. The pain had been real. The whole class had been standing around him, and Ron was kneeling next to him, looking terrified. You all right? He said. And it's just like a good, that to me, that's like a good Ron moment, because it's sort of like Ron knows Harry so well that it's sort of like something just happened to you, didn't it?
Yeah. Like Ron knows a little bit more than anyone else in the situation. Although, I'd be so curious if this had happened privately with Trelawney, if she could have actually what she would have explained here, because she's like, what was it? A premonition? An apparition? What did you see? She has an inkling of what happened.
Right.
And then, she says, you were clutching your scar. You were rolling on the floor, clutching your scar. Come now, Potter. I have experience in these matches. And it's like, I am so curious what she would have said.
I know. I mean, that's what I wrote in here. I was like, it really just is too bad that she's not more reliable, because it would have been interesting to see someone else's perspective who has any knowledge about this kind of thing, or supposed knowledge.
Right.
But then Harry's like, I need to go to the hospital wing. Bad headache. And it's like, Harry, who are you fooling, man?
Yeah. Clear lie. Just got to get out of this room.
Yes. And then that's where you get the clairvoyant vibrations. Yeah.
Yes.
My dear, you were undoubtedly stimulated by the extraordinary clairvoyant vibrations of my room.
Yeah. Which I feel like is pretty possible.
Yeah. Right. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If now you may lose the opportunity to see further than you ever have. Yes. And I was like, I bet this is somewhat true.
I know. I bet they could get back in the room.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which maybe is useful, maybe not. Hard to say. He stood up. The class backed away. They all looked unnerved, and I could only imagine, it's weird going to this class, especially with Harry.
Right.
Weird things always seem to happen there.
They do. Yep. But then, Professor, he says, I love it. Professor Trelawney was wearing an expression of great frustration, as though she had been denied a real treat, which in a way she was, I suppose.
Yes. A very unusual opportunity to get firsthand encounter with what she claims to be able to teach.
I know. It's it feels like no coincidence that it happened in her room.
Right.
Yeah. So Harry though is like, nope, I know exactly what I need to do. Sirius told me what to do, and I have to go talk to Dumbledore. That dream was exactly as vivid as the one that had woken me earlier this summer. And he's trying to remember it all, of course, which, is hard to do even when you feel like a dream was very vivid.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's so strange with dreams, isn't it? Because I feel like so frequently everything about the dream, while you're there, it's the setting and all of that makes sense. But then you try to explain it to somebody, and all of a sudden it's I don't know why we were in our childhood home and that one person was there, and you were technically a glue stick, but it made sense in the dream.
Right. It's in the dream, it all perfectly makes sense. You don't question any of it.
Yes. And then as soon as you start saying it out loud is when you realize how ridiculous
you're
it all
wait
is.
a minute. But then, they were, okay. and then it's like you're in the act of trying to recall it. Your brain's just like, dump it. Nope.
Yep. Get rid of it all.
Don't need it.
In the meantime, though, Harry he's recalling everything. He's actually doing a pretty good job too. It's like the owl had brought good news. The blunder had been repaired. Somebody was dead. So Wormtail was not going to be fed to the snake, but Harry was going to be fed to it instead.
Right. Somebody was dead. That's Crouch.
Yes. Yeah. Then he does make it to the gargoyle that stands guard outside of the headmaster's office, and he tries once again lemon drop because it had been the password from years past, and the gargoyle does not move. And then Harry just starts. He's kind of like a comical moment because he keeps just guessing a bunch of different candies.
Yeah. So I love how it goes from lemon drop to pear drop.
Yeah. It's like, how adjacent are we with our candies here? Liquor Swan, Fizzing Whizbee, Dribbles Best Blowing Gum, Birdie Bott's every flavor of beans. Oh, he doesn't like them, does he? Oh, can you just open, can't you? He said angrily. I really need to see him. It's urgent.
Yeah.
Then Harry kicks it.
Ouch.
He's like, that was never going to work. Never going to work.
Yeah.
Chocolate Frog, Cockroach Cluster. The gargoyle sprang to life and jumped aside. Harry blinked. Cockroach Cluster, he said amazed. I was only joking.
Yeah. All right. Well, good for you. You got it. I love that he's able to crack his way in just by like brute force.
Yes, I know. Yeah. So he makes his way up there and it says,
and now he gets to start overhearing Dumbledore and Fudge talking, and it's just like, Dumbledore, I'm afraid I don't see the connection. Don't see it at all. Which just Fudge is so dumb here. And this is just setting you up for the next book as well, where Fudge, or even later in this book, where Fudge is going to quickly become insufferable and just stop listening to Dumbledore altogether.
Yes.
Just because what he really doesn't want is for his own position to like be threatened in any way.
Exactly. Yep. Let's see here. They talk a little bit about Bertha Jorkin being missing, but like, he's like, Ludo says that she's perfectly capable of getting herself lost. And I would have expected to find her by now. And it's like, it's been 9 months.
Yeah.
It's like, that's way too long.
It's way too long. You have a missing person case here.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is becoming an issue.
Yeah. And then it says, as for her disappearance being linked with Barty Crouch's, nothing at all. And it's like, well, you do have 2 ministry people missing, like, inside of a year, and you can't find either of them.
Right.
And actually, both of them are dead.
Right.
Yeah.
And what do you think's happened to Barty Crouch, Minister? Said Moody's growling voice.
This is him like hunting for information.
Exactly. Yeah. Either Crouch is finally cracked, more than likely, I'm sure you'll agree, given his personal history, lost his mind, gone wandering off somewhere. He wandered extremely, this is Dumbledore. He wandered extremely quickly, if that's the case, Cornelius, said Dumbledore calmly, which, it's weird. It's like, I don't know why Dumbledore is like screaming
I know,
in this moment. It seems a little out of
He
character.
wandered extremely quickly, if that is the case, Cornelius.
Said Dumbledore calmly. Or else, well, said Fudge, sounding embarrassed. Well, I'll reserve judgment until after I've seen the place where he was found, but you say it was just past the Beauxbatons' carriage, Dumbledore. You know what that woman is?
Ugh.
It's like, dude.
Oh, dude.
It's like, come on.
Such casual racism by Fudge.
And not even casual. It's like, it's just overt.
It's just
like,
overt. You're right.
Like Dumbledore is like literally like, presenting him with otherwise information. And he's like, or how about prejudice is the issue? And it's
how about, I know, even the one he claims is the more likely possibility that Crouch has finally cracked. It's like Fudge wants to believe that Crouch has finally cracked because because Fudge still sees Crouch as a threat to becoming minister.
Yes.
In some capacity. He's like, he wants to believe that Crouch, like, oh, yeah, he's cracked. He's not a threat to me anymore. Clearly couldn't handle the job. I was the better man the whole time. Like,
right.
But it's because of his own insecurities that he wants to believe that.
No, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
And then then the Fudge has the audacity, though, to try to turn this on Dumbledore. He says, like, Dumbledore, come now. Like, don't you think you might just be a little bit prejudiced in her favor because of Hagrid? And it's like, oh my gosh. Like, he's using prejudice, like, in the most upside down, reversed way ever.
Oh, and Dumbledore is right onto him. He doesn't let him get away with it at all. He responds just as calmly, I no more suspect Madame Maxime than Hagrid. I think it is possible it is you who are prejudiced, Cornelius.
He said just as calmly.
Just as calmly.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I'm surprised he doesn't respond in the yelling way here.
I sort of am as well. Yeah, I could see this kind of like causing the hackers to go up on old Dumbledore there. And then amazingly, Moody finds a way to diffuse the situation by saying, can we wrap up this discussion? And Fudge is sort of like, yes, let's go on the grounds then. And it's like, if I'm Fudge, I'm shaking in my boots right now.
Yeah.
Because Dumbledore just spoke calmly at him.
He just spoke calmly at him. It's pretty much the most threatening thing there is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's not that, said Moody. It's just that Potter Harry wants a word with you, Dumbledore. He's just outside the door.
Yeah. Good use of the eye. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just
exactly.
a reminder, they can do things.
But also, Harry is so good at overhearing things.
Yeah.
It's like the number of instances where he just gets to like, it's like we've had the situation at the Yule Ball with the statue where they're just sort of like crouched behind there and like listening to Hagrid and Madame Maxine talk.
Yep.
Then you've got the
Snape and Karkaroff.
Snape and Karkaroff, and then you've got the conversation with the invisibility cloak and the trick step. And again, right here, it's like the number of times that Harry is just
never mind in Prisoner of Azkaban when he overhears the unlikely combination of Fudge, McGonagall, Hagrid, and Flitwick having drinks at the bar, telling the exact story about Sirius Black he needs to hear.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like the number of times it's sort of like the opportunistic overhearing. It's like, okay, all right, well, whatever.
Yep.
But what is the rule? It's like coincidence can get you into trouble, but it just can't get you out of it.
Exactly.
So, exactly. Yeah. So this is just getting us into trouble.
We're getting us into trouble here.
Right.
Yes.
So yeah, we're okay with that. We're okay with
good.
that.
Yep.
That does bring us to the end of chapter 29. Jay, do you have a review for us?
I sure do, Benjamin. Let me pull it up here. This is from Professor Peters. All right. Super important question.
Okay.
Hey, brother, absolutely love the pod. My question today is a little different than what you usually do on the show. I'm a teacher to 7th and 8th grade students, and next year I will be teaching a 4-week course on Harry Potter. My question to you two is, if you were to teach a class on Harry Potter, what would you need to include in your syllabus? Thank you for responding, and please keep in mind there's a good chance whatever your answer is will be added to the course next year.
Wow.
I was like, interesting. I'm like, oh boy. I was just like, this feels interesting. Like, what would you include on a syllabus if you were teaching about Harry Potter?
Man, a syllabus is an interesting question because I would like my mind immediately went to like a lesson, and I was sort of like, okay, I've got like an idea there,
right?
As to something that I think could be like an interesting way to like evoke critical thinking amongst young readers,
right?
Which to me would be Dumbledore's big plan, and I think just basically like getting through the story, and then like I think you could probably even show theoretically our video on Dumbledore's big plan from year one, because it's never on more proud display than it is in year one.
Year one is definitely when Dumbledore has the most control over the situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think being able to like witness all of like the various pieces and like seeing how each of the different characters are Ron has his strengths, Hermione has her strengths, Harry has his strengths, like, and the fact that like Dumbledore is allowing all of this to happen, it's like, that's to me, like when I can think this way, I think in doing all the theorizing that we've been doing, is almost like I think it helps me when I consume other media now.
Yeah,
because I think of everything in like a much more critical lens, not like being critical of the piece, but thinking of it with layers.
Yeah.
And I think that's what young readers need to like help them expand their horizons.
Yeah, I agree. And then I feel like focusing like on all the different, like a lot of them, the foreshadowing and stuff, like once you know what the answer is and you can go back and like identify all the moments of foreshadowing, I feel like that really helps like understand like how to like break down the story and stuff like that.
Yes.
But then on top of that is just sort of like the underlying, like the undercurrent of like good versus evil that is happening at all times, and like how like that is still the overall like theme of the entire story, that like love will always be the most powerful thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
no, you're absolutely right. Like it's so in a world of magic, this inherently non-magic thing is still the most powerful.
Right. It's like magic is the fun like setting for everything, and it's like the reason they're powerful, but it is not actually like, and like love, I guess technically has like its own brand of magic that like, you know, shows up here and there, where it's, you know, like the sacrificial protection is like a form of like love's magic, and like the Patronus, maybe you could say, is like a little bit form of that. But like at the end of the day, it is just like the act of loving, in the same way that like music existing is like more powerful than magic itself.
Exactly. Yeah. Because that makes a lot of sense. So then another kind of curious question that I think could be sort of fun is like, when you and I talk a lot about like writing research papers when we were in these formative years that these students would be in, and sort of like the complicated nature, like research papers are not that complex when it really boils down to it. Like normally you're supposing, like you're making an argument, you are then supporting that argument, and then you are concluding that argument.
Right.
And so it's really like a 5-piece equation. It's like, here's the introduction, here's the supporting evidence, here's me taking all of that and telling you why I came to the conclusion I came to.
Right.
But for whatever reason, like I had a really hard time comprehending this as a student. And I tended to struggle with research papers as an assignment versus like creative writing assignments where I felt like I could just like be myself and just like let the thoughts pour onto the page. But then now what we do for a living is write theories, and writing theories are basically research papers. Like we will introduce the video, we will tell you the premise of today's video, and then we're going to support that evidence, and then we're going to conclude our argument.
Right.
And so each theory video that we make, for all intents and purposes, is like a little mini informal research paper with our own injections of humor and everything.
I honestly feel like, if even maybe pick like 10 well-known Harry Potter theories or something, and just like assign them to different, like have your students like write a paper proving whatever the theory is.
Exactly.
And just sort of like, okay, find evidence for this in the books and present your argument for why it is likely.
You know?
I think that would be really cool, because I think that's a great way to connect with something that like it's the subject matter. Like the material itself is fun. But like, so that was the other big thing too. Like, you know, when I was reading Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in 7th grade, I just didn't understand it.
Right.
You know, so like, or even like one of my favorite books is The Giver. You know, like I think it's a fascinating thought experiment about utopias and stuff. And while the reading level is not above that of a 7th grader, the themes might be,
right,
because they're very complex themes. Like I start to appreciate it more in like my late 20s and 30s. But I think that doing something like Harry Potter gives you the ability to like let the kids be entertained and then also have fun with it.
Right.
Show them the literary elements. Show them the way that like Harry's green eyes, are like a reflection of Voldemort's red eyes. But then Harry's in the house that's symbolized by the color red, while Voldemort's in the house symbolized by the color green.
Right.
You know, like there's all these like cool things that you can showcase that like make more sense.
Right.
You know, whereas Death of a Salesman, I think that, you know, I remember my teacher telling me like, the salesman clearly is greedy because he's wearing a green vest, and the author meant that. And I was like, did he?
Did he? Is
like,
that how that went?
As I get older, I'm sure that she's correct.
Right.
But also like when I was that age, I was like, I don't get it. Like, or maybe he's just wearing a green vest.
Right.
You know, like why does green have to, like, did he mean like, I'm choosing green because green means
right. Yeah.
Greed.
Right.
You know, and it's like, maybe you're applying meaning after the fact. I don't know.
Right. That's kind of what it always feels like when you're in high school. It's like, you're just saying that and making me learn it because you like, it's an answer on a test now.
Right.
Is what it always felt like to me. Yeah.
Yes. But then like case in point in today's episode, like we start making a theory about like Moody's eye and the way in which it doesn't fit so well for Moody going on down the line, and the possibility that Barty Crouch could have created a horcrux. And it's like whether or not the author intended it doesn't matter. I'm having fun thinking about my story.
Right.
And really, really, when I think it comes down to it, that is what I think is most beneficial to everybody.
Right.
You know, think critically, because then you can take those skills and apply them to the real world and read a news article and ask questions about the news article.
Exactly.
You know, like it helps you comprehend everything better. So anyway, that sounds awesome. Your students are very lucky to have you, and I bet this is going to be an amazing class. So best of luck with everything. Thank you for your review.
I would love whoever you are, Professor Peters, if you wanted to send us what your ultimate syllabus ends up looking like, I would be fascinated to see it.
Oh yes, that would be so awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, that would be. Please do that.
Yeah.
Also, hey, don't forget, before we close out today's episode, we have the Patreon perk going on. If you'd like to get your own Gumpster Fire pin, just sign up for that annual membership anytime within the month of July 1st through July 31st. We have all the information over on the Patreon page. Again, it's patreon.com/throughthegryffindor.
Yep, but that is going to do it for this chapter. Make sure you join us next week for chapter 30, The Pensive, here on Through the Gryffindor.
Today's episode was edited by Ethan Edghill. Vaishon Brandon does our art. Catherine Stein is our production manager, and the show is hosted by me and Jonathan Carlin.